Episode 100, we here. Let's go. Welcome back to another Purpose Served podcast episode. Man, do we have a special one today? Thank y'all for tuning in. If you're new to this podcast episode, this podcast is inspiring you to be the best version of yourself that you could possibly be through living out your dreams and aspirations, living out the truth, ultimately speaking. And man, been doing this for 4.5 years now, going on 5 years. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that special? My goal, just to be extremely clear, because it just hit me within these last couple of months, is to align people as close as I possibly can to the two greatest commandments that was ever given. And that is the love of the Lord your God, and also to love your neighbor as you love yourself. The golden rule, doing others as you would have done to yourself. Man, look around the world today and you don't see much of that going on. And if you open up the lenses, if you've been tuning in as of late, I've been talking about the two different lenses, the physical lens, the physical eyes. If you look with the other set of eyes, the spiritual ones, you'll be able to see clearly of what's going on. And this is going to be today's topic. And it stems from this question. Is it better to be accepted by people in darkness, or is it better to be rejected by people because of the light? Is it worth it to live a lie because people will like you better? And at the end of the day, by you doing this, you may have people around you, but you still gonna feel lonely and crazy because you're not being who you were truly meant to be. And unfortunately, so many people lived and died being that way without necessarily having the opportunity to have a do-over. Would they do it over if they knew that they was here to be themselves? Would they do it over? Or would they choose to walk in darkness again? And for the most part, due to the fact that a decent amount of people, a lot of people walk in the darkness of lies, that make that one particular individual that's walking in the light of truth rejected by those people that's walking in lies and darkness. Which one would you prefer? Like, truly ask yourself that. When I'm around people, am I lying to myself about who I am? Am I in this group conforming just so I don't feel alone? What am I doing? Is the people around me truly are my tribe of people that's supposed to be around me? Am I serving my purpose by being around these people? And there's a lesson to be learned in this. There's truly a lesson to be learned in this. What is the lesson to be learned in this? Is just that by you walking in the light of truth, be expected to be rejected by other people that's walking in darkness. Because that's just the nature of how things go. Light and dark can occupy the same space at the same time. Something is either light or something is either dark. We've been speaking on the spiritual battles that's at hand right now, like crazy as of late. And we're not going to stop speaking on it. We're going to keep going. For sure. For sure. But, man, it's important for you guys to walk in the light of truth. But you first have to find it. You first have to recognize where is it and where it come from. And oftentimes when you try to have these conversations with people, depending on the nature of your group, the nature of your environment, the more people are paying attention to what's outside of them, and that's all they talk about: gossip, drama, problems, complaining. If you hear a whole lot of that, these people are in darkness, guaranteed. That is guaranteed. I promise you they're in darkness. Is that if that's what they talk about all the time, nonstop, they are so far from the truth, it's not even funny. And once you find the light, all of this stuff becomes clear to you. It all becomes clear, straight up. So, truth versus acceptance. So, I've been these last couple of podcast episodes, like I said, we switching the cloth. This is episode 100. We gotta do a little bit of changing here and there. But also, when it comes to me, I had to be true to myself. I gotta practice what I preach. I just can't be talking about these things, right? And not living them. Because in that regard, I shouldn't even be talking about any of this in the first place. That would not be cool to me. Now, I've talked about the battles that I had to overcome in order to get to this point, right? Being amongst different crowds of people that could care less about my well-being and could care less about if my soul was intact or not, because they was just thinking about themselves. It didn't necessarily know how to cope with their own issues that they was going in. And everybody that's around is just simply trying to block it out with each other. Ain't nothing like being in a room full of people, right? And everybody's alone. What in the world is that? What in the world is that? But once you climb up out of that darkness and the light finally hits you, which takes no effort on your part at all. It don't take any effort at all. It's something that just simply needs your awareness, which takes no effort. And a lot of people like to look elsewhere when you're not supposed to. Figure out who you are. Don't try to figure out who other people are. That's wild. That is wild. Get the order correct. And like I said, what's typically going to happen, and throughout human history, this has happened countless amount of times, is just that once you find a light, first off, when the light really hits you, there's nobody that's going to be around, first and foremost. And then second, once you present this light to other people, expect rejection from other people. And over time, as you do walk in this light, you're going to have people that's truly meant to be in your life. But get to know who you are first and foremost. So, in a biblical standpoint, we're going to give a biblical lesson. Yelling in your ear. And the Bible, Luke chapter 4, verse 24, Jesus says, "No, truly I say to you, no prophet is acceptable in his hometown." And it was an interesting moment before he said these words. He was called up to do his reading in the synagogue. And they gave him the scroll of Isaiah. and he read from the scroll of Isaiah. And I have in front of me what he read. And I believe it came from Isaiah, the opening chapters of Isaiah 61. Interesting stuff. Powerful stuff. In the same breath. And this is what he read. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim liberty to the captives and recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty those who are oppressed, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. And that's when he stopped reading and rolled it up, and he gave it back to the attendant and sat down. And while this was going on, everybody in the building had their eyes glued on this man. Everybody, after he read what I just read. And he said that today, this scripture has been fulfilled in your hearing. And they looking at this dude like, isn't this Joseph's son from Nazareth? Nothing good comes from Nazareth. They looking at this dude like, what in the world? Marveling at this guy. And as he went on and he spoke the truth. And this disturbed the people that was in the synagogue, because they ultimately was in darkness themselves. They ultimately was in darkness. And Jesus ultimately was saying that the blessing is not here to save you guys, but the people that's outside of you guys. And it's meant for like everybody. The truth is absolutely meant for everybody. But in the same breath, in the same time, when you are walking in darkness, something that I spoke on is just that you look at the lens of light through death. You look at the lens of life through lies and deceit, because you don't know how to see. You haven't been gifted to see yet. So while this interaction was going on and Jesus was dropping truth bombs on them, they said, you know what? I'm tired of hearing this guy. And they were filled with wrath. And then they decided that we're going to take him outside of this town on the hill that this was built and throw him off the hill, throw him off the cliff to kill him, ultimately speaking. But it wasn't his time, and he escaped the crowd. Before he was in a synagogue in a group of people, he went through his temptations of 40 days and 40 nights in the wilderness, where he was in solitude with no food or no water, getting his spirit strong by denying his flesh and denying his body. Walking in darkness, if you notice this, is that when people are walking in darkness, they just want pleasure for the body. They want food till they are full beyond capacity. They want acceptance from others, which is the basis of what we're talking about, whether it's job positions, whether it's putting up posts on social media to look a certain way so people have a certain image of you. That's not truly who you are. You're just trying to play the part for other people. And ultimately speaking, it's destroying you from the inside out, not the outside in. But the corruption started first from outside things influencing your internal pure light that you were born with, that you came here with. It most likely started from your household, your parents, your family, and school. And over time, like all of these environments and all of these people is living in darkness, their way of looking at the world adopted into the way you look at the world. We all went through this. Our parents went through this. Our parents' went through this. And this is what we have to overcome individually, first and foremost, and then collectively as a society and culture. This is what's really going on right now, folks, in the world. This is really what's going on right now. And depending on like where you are, and you are speaking the truth, and you are living out the truth, don't be expected to be accepted in the place that you grew up in and your environment. That's oftentimes the root of where the darkness stems from. And oftentimes, the people that truly do believe in you and see you for what you are people that's outside of your hometown. Seriously, the people inside your hometown are going to be the people that try to put you down and reject you and keep you at the bottom of the barrel. You're dangerous to those type of people. And ultimately, they don't know any better. So don't even have no grudges or hard feelings towards them. Try to do the best that you can to forgive them. Because this next person that I named, their story ends with forgiveness as well. And they was rejected in their hometown by their own people. And the person that I'm naming is Joseph, the son of Jacob, the son of Israel. And his brothers couldn't stand him. They were jealous of him because they felt as though like this was dad's favorite, which he was. And Joseph was like a little snitch. He was you better not do nothing bad around him. He was going to report to pops about, you know what I'm saying, what's going on. If y'all got siblings, you know what I mean, that narc sibling that telling you for everything, it's like, yo, man, they can't be around for nothing. They're square. They're square. But Joseph had a dream. And this is one of the gifts of God to Joseph was dreams. And being able to also interpret dreams. But he had this one dream where the sun and the moon and all the stars is bound to him. And that was symbolic of his mom, his dad, and his siblings all bound to him. And it was a major dream. It was a pivotal dream. And there was a specific moment after he had this dream where his brothers were conspiring to kill him. But then one of the brothers was like, you know what? I think that's a little too far. Let's just leave him in a ditch with like no water. Let's leave him in a pit, an empty pit with no water. Let's just leave him there. And there was this coat that Joseph had, a coat of many colors. I think he gave it to his pops. But this particular coat that he had on that particular day, the brothers left him in the pit and they dipped it in blood to make it look like their brother was like killed in like an accident. Darkness. That's a dark move. That's a dark move to make. Wow. And when they came back and told their father like what happened, their father already knew the vibes of these brothers. Like these brothers was like, wow. One of their sisters, she was raped by somebody in a neighboring town by the dude's son who like was like running the whole entire town, essentially speaking. And two of the brothers got whiff of this, and they rocked the dad and the son to sleep, and that whole entire village, and they pretty much went through and murked every single person in the village, in the town. everybody and took all their stuff. So these are the type of brothers, like, they did more stuff than this. They did way more stuff than this. They were some savages, man. They were savages. And also, fun fact, these are the origins of the 12 tribes of Israel. Crazy. And the two brothers that I just named, I believe they lost the birthright, and it was given to Joseph's two sons to replace them. And I think that was Levi and Simeon. But ultimately speaking, going back to the main point at hand, the truth versus acceptance, if Joseph would have acted accordingly to his brothers, he would have missed out on his true purpose and calling in life, which is an act of faith, not an act on what you learn and know off of what other people teach you and expect you to be. And before it got better for Joseph, it got worse and worse and worse. And you could say the same thing for Jesus and the life that he lived, is that after that moment, he had some ups, but it was going to be getting worse and worse and worse and worse. From him living the truth out and being an embodiment of truth. But Joseph was sold into slavery by the Midianites, I believe. And when he was sold into slavery, he ended up working in a high official's house of Egypt. He was sold into slavery in Egypt. And Potiphar ended up working in Potiphar's house. And Potiphar's wife had a thing for Joseph. And Joseph, being true to his creator and honoring that to then, he didn't want to violate the Lord of the house, Potiphar, knowing that would be wrong. And that would also be disgraceful to God. And her being in darkness for trying to sexually corrupt Joseph, it led to her lying on Joseph about, him forcing himself upon her. And this landed Joseph in prison. So he goes from being a slave to a prisoner. And while in prison, he was interpreting people's dreams in prison. And ultimately, this gift got him out the darkness of a cell and led him to be a second in command based off of a dream that the Pharaoh had that disturbed him, ultimately speaking. And one of the prisoners that was let out, backtracking, I'm throwing a lot at y'all right now. But this stuff is crazy. It really is crazy. But Joseph told two dreams to two particular prisoners. And he said, pretty much, don't forget about me when you get up out of here. One of them failed to remember, and it caused him his death. And the other one that did remember caused him to live. And it got Joseph ultimately out of prison and right directly to the head of Egypt, that being Pharaoh. And his interpretation and his wisdom and his understanding on dreams that God blessed him with ultimately led him to be second in command of all of Egypt, right under Pharaoh. And not only did he save the Egyptians from a famine that was coming, but he also saved his own family from the famine because of his plan to store food. And Joseph's brothers came down to Egypt knowing that this was a place that most likely can provide life through the food that they had, to bring back home to the land of, I believe, Canaan, where they was at. They didn't know that their brother was that person that they were speaking to in second in command and had that much power. They didn't know. And long story short, the family was restored. And the most beautiful thing about this story is just that Joseph was very forgiving of his brothers, even though they wronged him. And that's the same thing with Jesus Christ. He forgave all those that wronged him because they didn't know any better, because they was in darkness. And Joseph's path to start off with was extremely lonely. Don't avoid walking the truth alone. And get to know yourself, like I said, rather than knowing other people. Don't know other people way better than you know yourself. Man, don't do that. The need for approval from others causes you to miss out on your purpose in life and your true calling, which is an internal thing. When we were told that the kingdom of God was at hand, it wasn't talking about an outside place. And once you come to love the creator that created all things, that light will be shed within you. Nice and bright. Life won't get easier. It will get more difficult. But by you having faith, everything will be figured out for you. And your purpose will be given to you very, very clearly. Man. And it's such a great thing. I never thought, honestly, in my whole entire life, that I'll be speaking to you guys. I never thought in my entire life that this is something that I wanted to do. And it's odd that the people that listen to me most are people that I'm most likely never going to meet or see a day in my life. It's odd that the people that listen to me are not people that grew up in my hometown. It's not my family. Like I'd be surprised when my family tell me. I just had a conversation with my cousin who most likely will be on this podcast, man, who I consider a brother. But we were talking about that. Like, it's interesting. He told me that he listened to like my podcast, some of my podcasts, and I was like, what in the world? I said, no way. And he was so surprised at my reaction, but I was being dead serious. I was appreciative of it. Man, life is crazy. And I wasn't this person that I'm talking, like, how I'm talking now was not this person. I was the exact opposite. I was out here chasing thrills and being very deceitful, manipulative, and I was a major liar. Man, to get what I want. And I was having fun, man. I had a fun life. I lived a very, very fun life. But at what cost? I couldn't be alone, yo. I couldn't stand to be alone with myself. I had to distract myself with people, things, situations, and all of that, which formed so many bad behaviors and negative, like, habits that was no good for me. And I wanted out with a lot of things, but didn't know how to seek that out. Basketball saved me, ultimately speaking, which was the form that I took, which was extrinsic. It wasn't intrinsic. which is something that I'm about to speak on a little bit, which is going to be the purpose served lesson of the podcast, the stages of intention, which you can check it out on the Miro app. Go on the purpose served website, go down to World of Purpose, and click the link, and you will find the intention stages, along with that whole ideas to results rundown of how you can take your ideas and put them towards results in a practical way. But basketball was the extrinsic thing that people could see. But intrinsically, I had a lot of work to do. And the intrinsic value with the stages of intention, which is 4 stages, right? You have the creation stage, which starts off, any act of creation is an internal thing. And then it moves on to a preparation stage to plan on this act of creation. Then it's the behavior behind that idea that you have or plan that you have, which now moves it to an extrinsic thing because people can see behavior, people can see actions, but people necessarily don't see the preparation behind the idea. And people definitely don't see the idea if it's not expressed. So that leads to the 4th stage, which is the setting stage, the place for your idea. So the first 2 is creation and preparation, which is an internal thing. People can't see your ideas, and you shouldn't never let anybody know your plans unless they truly are helping you bring it to its final destination. And the last 2 is the behavior stage and the setting stage, which is extrinsic. So with that being said, Jesus, when he was in the wilderness, there was nobody around, and he was truly having a spiritual, internal experience. Truly. And lastly, it took shape in the world for people to see. But the subtleties in Jesus' life is that he spent a lot of time alone, a deep prayer, solitude, and masses amount of people constantly wanted to be around him and know where he was at for their selfish benefit and a selfish reason. With him knowing that, man, I'm truly here to sacrifice myself willingly. And the closer he got to the day of his resurrection, well, not necessarily the day of his resurrection, but specifically the day of his crucifixion, the more painful and the more the pressure actually built, where everybody wanting a piece of him. And what that was doing to his spirit and the true conflict that he was going through with being a human being as well, knowing what we're going through. Isn't that crazy? Knowing that people are dark, they're evil, they're evil. You're walking in that evil. We're seeing this evil like right now in this present day. If you're listening to this right now, the current date is July 18th. It's a Friday. And right now, they're trying to cover up a lot in the higher power. When it comes to, we're going to get serious real quick, but, you know, the PDF files, if you know what I'm saying, and the people that's involved, and pretty much telling us not to think about this stuff, and pretty much considering us foolish to be even thinking about that stuff and buying into it. Evil is reigning supreme right now, but it won't last long. It won't. The truth is coming out with a lot of things, and you're either going to align with the truth or you're not going to align with the truth. You're either going to be moved away from your purpose by senseless distractions, or you're going to be drawn closer to the truth by eliminating those same distractions that I'm talking about. What a crazy world that we live in, man. Truly, it is sad how many lost people there are right now. It's so sad. People don't take the time out to investigate themselves. People much rather have other people tell them how to think and how they should feel. When you have an all-knowing creator that's waiting for you to return to him. Return back to the Father and forgive everybody that wronged you. Serve your purpose. And then your true form will hit you of how you should conduct yourself in this world. Be patient. And you guys are going to be fine, man. Y'all going to be fine. And if you do have a hobby out there that you truly care about and all of that, keep doing it. Keep doing it. You never know what that can lead into and turn into, and be open-minded for the path that you're walking down. Because something that I talk about is that God's greatest good is better than any good that you could possibly think of for yourself. And you have to trust that. That's an act of faith. That is a true act of faith. Most certainly. And most people get anxiety created from them internally wanting to know how the future is going to turn out. Or they become greatly depressed and filled with regret from dwelling on the past, on how things should have been, or what they didn't do, or what they did do, instead of being present in this moment right now, which is such a beautiful thing, to be present. Be present with yourself. And become as light as a feather to move through this thing called life. And things, for the meantime, it won't get easier. It will get tougher. But do the hard work. Don't be scared to do the hard work, man. Like, put in the struggle and put in the pain of living out your purpose and emanating that light that's within you. Once you get a grasp of it. And if you haven't got a grasp of it yet and you don't know what it's like, flip the lens around and look within and do the best that you can to find that light that's at the end of your soul's tunnel. Do the best that you can. That's all you got, and that's all you have, and that's all you will need. That's going to connect you to the creator that created all things. And sent his son to be a guide for you to walk that way. And be an example of what that looks like. So when somebody tell you was there, and you trying to find the kingdom of God and pointing you in a direction that's outside of yourself, don't go there. If they say that person has it, don't believe that person, and don't go to that person who they say has it, because it's not there as well. The true riches and the true joy and your true purpose in life will start from within you, and it will end within you when it's all said and done. But just walk the walk, man. Be present on this journey through and through, and you're gonna be okay. No prophet is truly accepted in their hometown. That is the truth. Your purpose is most likely meant elsewhere. It's most likely meant for another town. It's most likely meant for a different country, a different set of people. Don't focus on your people as well. And that could be anything. That could be race. That could be like, race is like a huge thing. That's like a huge thing. Focus on people's spirit. That's what you should be focusing on. And I'm guaranteeing that the light of truth will hit you. And that light of truth will act on your behalf. And you'll know how to maneuver and be one with that light of truth instead of rejecting it. And life, for what life is supposed to be, will truly, truly hit you. But you got to die to this world. Because the people that live for this world are the most miserable people that you could possibly find on planet Earth. Because they're living for the passions. They are living for the passions. You know what? For those that are new and you made it this far, and you like, yo, what in the world? I threw a lot at y'all. But the passions are this: love of riches, desire for possessions, bodily pleasure from which comes sexual passions, love of honor, which gives rise to envy, lust for power, arrogance and pride of position, craving to adorn oneself with luxurious clothes and vain ornaments, the itch for human glory, which is a source of rancor and resentment and physical fear. So the people that had Jesus killed suffer from the passions. And this is ultimately darkness. And their need and their pride to be right led to somebody else's demise that was speaking the truth. And while going through this, and pretty much his last couple of hours on earth, majority of the time he was silent and sitting in the suffering, the straight silence amongst all of these people, experiencing a very humiliating and embarrassing death that was meant for the lowest of the lows. Amazing. That's crazy. Ain't nobody really gonna go through that. If that was like them, they'll lie. They'll lie. Peter lied when that pressure hit. He said, I don't know this guy. I don't know this guy. But then after that, he realized that, man, I did something wrong. And he redeemed himself to a crazy degree and ended up walking in his true calling when it was all said and done. Amazing, man. Life is beautiful at the end of the day. It really is. Life is awesome. Serve your purpose. Our next podcast episode should be the next one. We have a very, very special guest who is a TED Talk speaker, who's an author, also a podcast host. And we're going to be getting into some interesting conversations about faith, about technology, human interaction and connection, and the importance of not being on your electronic devices when you wake up and when you go to sleep. Other than that, thank y'all for tuning in for the special 100th episode. Man, we got to episode 100. That's crazy. That is wild. Man, until next time, I appreciate every last one of y'all from wherever y'all tapping in across the world, man. Thank y'all. Continue to serve y'all purpose. And take action towards it. So treat the purpose as if it's the goal and serve it, which is the action part of that. Serve your purpose and put God first. Put God first. And then everything else comes second. People and all. I'm out of here. Deuces.